service announcement. These videos have the full intentions to be used as conversational tools and purposes only. Anything that is expressed in these videos and videos before and after has the sole purpose of that reason. I know a lot of this stuff is repetitive. I hope that you can understand that. Again, these are for conversational purposes only. The comment box on these videos is for that purpose. Thanks for watching. Now that little intro is out of the way, I want to talk about what I think was one of the best episodes in Street Outlaws history. What else could you ask for in an episode of Street Outlaws? You had your controversy, and it was actually good controversy, nothing to gripe about. You had winning races, good races, upsets. You had everything all packed into one episode. And we will talk about what I consider some of the highlights and some of the things I want to touch on. But first, I want to tell you something real quick. Baseball season has started, and depending on how long you've been on the channel, you know that I am a baseball and football coach for Little League. 9, 10, 11-year-old age group like that. My son, he will be 10 this year, so that's where I come into coaching. I have helped these kids and watched these kids grow, for the past 3 or 4 years. And we had our first game tonight, and the game played out just like a movie that you would see about Little League. Last inning, down by 1, had runners on second and third, full count. Heaviest hitter we got come up, crushed it, and the second baseman just stuck his glove out and the ball landed in it. I mean, it was the biggest upset. I was coaching first. I was done acting a fool. I just knew that we had going to come up by 2 and win the ball game. But that's life. The kids understand that's life. And anytime you can find a teachable moment to give to a kid that age is a good thing. So I'm pretty hyped up right now. I'm pretty excited. I just left the ballpark, so adrenaline's still pumping. So if I'm a little more excited, my hands are moving more than normal, that's probably why. But let's talk about Street Outlaws and some of the things that happened. Now, the things I'm going to talk about aren't going to be really in any rhyme or reason, just kind of notes that I took and things that I want to talk about. And I'm not going to talk about every race, but I want to talk about, like I said, some of the big key points of what I noticed. I'm going to put on the screen right now all of the matchups that happened last night on the 2-hour season premiere of season 12, and I want you in the comments to tell me what you thought was the best matchup. The first thing I want to talk about is pretty much the intro of the show, and it involves Monza saying what I have been saying for 2 seasons or 2 years about the main cast of the show and forgetting where they come from. I'll play it right here.
That's because everybody's here is worried about Joe Blow next to him stabbing him in the back. Right. We used to all get along. We were kind of like brothers. We kind of forgot what got us here, and it all went. There was a time when I trusted all you. Now there's a time where I don't know who to trust.
I've been saying that. The show had made it obvious that that's what had happened. And Chief has said for a couple of seasons, we got to go back to old rules. We got to go back to the way things used to be. We got to bring the family. Everything that they were saying at the beginning, and I've been saying it. Everybody's been saying it. My comments, email, everything's been flooded with all the same things. I'm probably prematurely making this statement, but I got so pumped up about last night's episode that I do feel like, or it made me feel like the Street Outlaws, that most of the people that are watching this and that are still fans of the show is why they watch the show, is when the show was good. And for one reason, I guess, it's because they was in California. Legendary Street, they talked about it all in the show, and, that is where this type of racing originated, was in California, out west. And it just kind of brought it all back full circle, and I liked it from the word jump. When I knew that's what they're doing, I was kind of turned on to the idea, and it worked. The first one that I want to talk about, it was when Farmtruck, which it would have been the first race of the night, and Farmtruck was talking about it had kind of been a tradition for the Farmtruck to go down first, and that is somewhat of a trend, but they haven't raced out of towners in so long that they can say it's been a trend for 3 years, but they've only raced out of town twice in the past 3 years. So, it's not really a tradition yet. I don't consider 3 times a tradition. But he broke in the car that he was racing. It was a girl driving the old Camaro, first-gen Camaro, and the name of the car was Blue Balls. And let me know in the comments if you know what significance the name of that car had with my channel. She blew the tires off. Farmtruck would have went A to B. He would have won, but he broke, he didn't. I just want to talk about the name of that car. The next thing I'm going to talk about, and that is the Murder Nova 2.0, the new Murder Nova, whatever you want to call it. When he debuted the car on the show, that was on Cash Days, when him and the Blue Dragon, which Eric Bain owns now, Tony Folks had it then, he was driving it, and Murder Nova took the car to the finals, won Cash Days, and that car was on rails that night, and it was rolling. And ever since then, he has had problems. He couldn't even get on the list, couldn't stay on the list. By the end of the season, he had worked his way up mid-range somewhere, but the car was still nothing like I would even say the OG car was. But last night in California, that car was on rails. That car was moving, and it was one of the faster passes, faster times that I have seen that car run. But you have to remember that this was taped a long time ago, and I remember when they went to California because all of the main guys had pictures of them in California on their Instagram, and I knew they was there, what they was there to do. And I had said in a previous video that I thought that all this was filmed after No Prep Kings, but I'm going to back up and say that this episode was filmed before No Prep Kings was filmed for season 2. And there's several reasons why I say that. And number one is how fast the Murder Nova was going. We've done talked about that. But number two, and this is wanting to bring me right into my next point, it was a good segue, that is Doc. Doc was talking about his race, which he was like really cocky and being bad in the driver's meeting, and as weird as Doc is and all the weird stuff he does, I mean, it was 100% Doc. But anyway, he was talking about his car, and he was still running the 728 that he had in there, not the 959 cubic inch motor that the Street Beast has now. He debuted it in No Prep Kings, and we know that, if it was filmed after No Prep Kings, obviously he would have had that motor in the car. The next thing I want to talk about is an obvious, and it would have been the third race, I want to say, and that is the deal with the flagger. What I seen was the car jump. I didn't see anything that was going on in Ryan's lane. I wasn't paying attention. I seen the car take off, and when it did, the flagger just jumped back and turned the light on. And part of that is instincts. The man's on camera for the first time on Street Outlaws, so he's nervous, and the car leaves, and it's got to be instinct to flip the light up, especially when you're green. I'm not saying he's green at flagging. I'm saying he's green at flagging in front of millions of people. So I'm going to blame part of that on there, and I knew there was going to be controversy when it flipped to Chief, and Chief said pay the bet. And what Chief was saying was accurate, 100%. I feel like if Chief keeps, acting like he was acting last night, it will bring around a lot of the naysayers and a lot of the people who is talking so much trash about Chief right now back around to on his side. And it kind of did me. He did make a hell of a point. They was all bitching last season about his flagging, and then the first thing when something happens, they want to bring Chief. So maybe they should realize that Chief's flagging is not that bad. If he does bring the flashlight up and it's, comes on 2 milliseconds before it's supposed to, or it's turned one way an inch, the man has flagged, thousands of races. It's going to happen eventually, and I feel like the ones that was griping, and all of them in general now, has seen how bad it can be. So unless something major happens, there won't be any more griping about the way Chief's flagging. But I got about 3 more things I want to talk about, and the first one is when Lutz raced that, was it a Vega or Monza or something? The first time, every angle that was shown on television last night, there was somebody standing in the way, or there wasn't a good view or something. I fully think Lutz crossed on the first race, If he didn't, he was all over it. That car had to. The tires had to touch the line, had to cross the line. But obviously, there was no way to prove it, and you cannot blame Lutz. He's not going to admit it. He's got a chance to, race the guy again. So, and he knows his car's faster, so can't blame him at all. Raced again. Outcome was what we thought it was going to be. I don't blame the man. I would have been doing the same thing. There was not a clear angle, and I don't see how as many cell phones and how many cameras and stuff there that wasn't, but I fully think he crossed, and it turned out like it turned out, and I do think Lutz had a little bit of luck on his side. The next one I want to talk about is the whole deal with Gypsy Mike and Ryan Martin, the back and forth in the driver's meeting, him sending somebody up there. And I know the legend of Gypsy Mike. I know how everybody's talked about him, and he is a legend. He is and hustling and street racing and all that. His car is outdated. His car is still stuck in the mid-90s, but he can talk his way into a win by sending the brains up there, just like Chief said. When I think of legends of street racing, Ronnie Pace, people like that is what comes to mind. Boosted GT, the 405 guys. I didn't know as much about him before Street Outlaws as I do now, but when they was wanting the hit, that automatically, okay, let me see if I can break it down. If he's wanting the hit and a car length, because you get the hit, that's going to give you at least one more or two more car lengths on the other guy. And, so it would really been like 3 lengths. But Ryan Martin in the Fireball Camaro went around that car so fast that there had to be a 60 or 70 mile an hour difference when he went around him. And you heard Chuck say that it sucked air out from under the car and made it spin around. There's a real good chance that, that had something to do with that car, the chassis coming unloaded, whatever happened, and him, the car spinning. I fully believe that could have had something to do with it. He went around him that fast at a foot apart. Anything can happen. It probably went around him so fast that he didn't know what it was, that he turned the steering wheel. There was that much of a difference when he went around him. But Ryan Martin was able to beat Gypsy Mike on Gypsy Mike's rules, his terms, and that is something that very few people can say that they have done. The next thing I'm going to talk about, and that's Dominator. Dominator dominated his race, and there was a lot of closer races than what I thought it would be last night, but I really thought when I seen the people, like the girl in the Terminator Firebird, I think it is, she was on Memphis Street Outlaws several times, and I thought that was going to be a cakewalk, and she ended up winning. There was a couple of upsets, like I said, but when I seen the cars, and you've seen a lot of them here and there, but it wasn't no real big people that you've heard of, with the exception of 1 or 2. So I thought that it was going to be a cakewalk. I thought they was going to walk through it and be done. But there was a lot of wrecks that never really hit anything, if that makes sense. Dominator, that's the first time I've ever seen him really just lose control of the car. And if you notice, everybody that spun around, that happened 2 or 3 times, it was after the finish line. And if you think back to any time that any of them has ever talked about racing in the desert, the wind blows in the desert like crazy and blows sand up on the track. I wonder if they blow the track off. I'm not saying they do. I'm just saying I wonder if they blow the track off to where the cars hook, go, get traction, and they stop it at the finish line. And that's why, part of the reason why, they was having all the spin outs. I don't know. If you know the answer to it, drop in the comments below. But this video has rocked on a little longer than what I wanted to, and there's so much more to talk about that I'll probably put it in the next video or even make another one for this week. So anything you want me to know, say, do have, comment box below, email addresses across the screen. For a couple more weeks, I'm going to say the P.O. box on the screen. If it doesn't get any attention, then I'm probably going to shut it down. So as of right now, the giveaway's still going. P.O. box on the screen, $50. Don't take much. And my giveaway's still going, $500 when I hit 50,000 subscribers. It's clicking up every day. I'm getting closer, and I'm ready to give the money away. Who knows? It could be you. All you got to do is hit subscribe if you're not subscribed. Tell somebody, share the videos, do something. Let's get to 50,000. Thank you for watching. Godspeed. I'll see you in the next video.